I found out I'm not the father. 15 years later. Here's what I did. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to go through someone's phone. For 15 years, I trusted my wife Sarah completely. We had what I thought was the perfect marriage: 2 beautiful kids, a comfortable home, and a relationship built on honesty. Or so I believed. But sometimes the truth has a way of revealing itself when you least expect it. And when it does, it can shatter everything you thought you knew about your life. It was a Tuesday evening. Nothing special about it. Sarah had gone to bed early, claiming she had a headache, and I stayed up watching the game. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table, once, twice, 3 times. Normally, I wouldn't even glance at it, but something made me look. The screen lit up with a message preview from a name I didn't recognize. "We need to talk about what happened 15 years ago." My heart started racing. I picked up the phone, my hands trembling slightly. I know it was wrong, I know it was an invasion of privacy, but in that moment, something deep in my gut told me that I needed to see what this was about. What I found in those messages would change everything. The conversation went back months, and as I scrolled through, piecing together fragments of their discussion, a horrifying picture began to form. This person, a man named Derek, had been messaging Sarah about their past relationship. But it wasn't just reminiscing about old times. There were references to dates, to a brief rekindling of their romance, and then the words that made my blood run cold. Does he know about Emma? Does he know she's mine? Emma, our daughter, our 15-year-old daughter who had my last name, who called me Dad, who I had raised since the day she was born. I sat there on that couch for what felt like hours, but was probably only 20 minutes, just staring at those words. My mind was racing through every memory, every moment with Emma. The day she was born, teaching her to ride a bike, helping with homework, coaching her soccer team. Was none of it real? Was I just playing a role in someone else's story? I felt sick, physically sick. I wanted to storm into the bedroom and confront Sarah right then and there, but something stopped me. Maybe it was shock, maybe it was fear, or maybe I just needed time to process what I'd discovered before everything fell apart. Sleep didn't come that night. I lay next to my wife, this woman I thought I knew better than anyone, and she was a complete stranger. Every breath she took felt like a lie. When morning came, I went through the motions, making breakfast, getting the kids ready for school, kissing Sarah goodbye as she left for work. But inside, I was dying. I needed proof. I needed to know for certain before I could decide what to do next. The messages suggested it, but I needed something concrete, something undeniable. I called my lawyer that day. Mark had been my friend since college, and I trusted him completely. When I told him what I'd found, there was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Then he said the words I'd been thinking but was afraid to say out loud. "You need a paternity test." It sounded so clinical, so cold, but he was right. I needed to know the truth, no matter how much it might hurt. Mark explained that I could get a discreet DNA test without Sarah knowing, using samples from Emma and myself. It felt sneaky and wrong, but Sarah had been keeping secrets for 15 years. What choice did I have? Getting Emma's DNA sample was easier than I thought. I took a sand of her hair from her brush one morning after she'd left for school. My own sample was just a cheek swab. I sent them off to a lab that Mark recommended, one that promised fast and accurate results. Then came the waiting. Those 2 weeks were the longest of my life. I had to continue pretending everything was normal. I had to look my daughter in the eye and not break down. I had to sleep next to Sarah and not scream at her for what she'd done. Every dinner felt like a performance. Every "I love you" felt like a dagger to my heart. The envelope arrived on a Thursday. I remember because Thursday was pizza night and I'd stopped at the mailbox on my way home from picking up dinner. I saw the return address from the testing facility and my hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped the pizza boxes. I sat in my car in our driveway for 15 minutes just holding that envelope, knowing that once I opened it, there was no going back. Whatever was inside would determine the course of the rest of my life. Finally, I tore it open. The words on the page blurred as tears filled my eyes. Probability of paternity, 0%. The tested man is excluded as the biological father. 0%. Not even a chance. Emma wasn't mine. I don't remember walking into the house. I don't remember putting the pizza on the counter. The next clear memory I have is sitting in my car again, this time parked at a lookout point 20 minutes from home, just crying. 15 years. 15 years of birthdays and Christmases, of scraped knees and parent-teacher conferences, of being someone's dad. And it was based on a lie. How could Sarah do this? How could she look me in the eye every single day and let me believe Emma was mine? What kind of person does that to someone they claim to love? When I finally went home that night, hours later, Sarah was frantic. She'd been calling and texting, worried something had happened to me. The irony wasn't lost on me. I told her I just needed some air, needed to drive and think about work stuff. She seemed to accept this, though she kept giving me concerned looks throughout the evening. I couldn't even look at Emma without feeling a confusing mix of love and betrayal. She was still the same girl I'd raised, still the daughter I adored, but everything felt different now. Tainted. I excused myself early and went to bed, claiming I had a headache, just like Sarah had done the night this all started. Over the next few days, I met with Mark several times. We discussed my options, my rights, the legal implications of everything. In my state, he explained, I was still legally Emma's father because I was married to Sarah when she was born and I was listed on the birth certificate. That meant I was responsible for child support even if we divorced, even though she wasn't biologically mine, even though I'd been lied to for 15 years. The unfairness of it all made me angry in ways I'd never experienced before. But Mark also explained something else, something important. Just because I wasn't Emma's biological father didn't mean I wasn't her real father. I'd been there for everything that mattered. That bond, he said, was real, regardless of DNA. I spent a lot of time thinking about that, about what being a father really meant. Was it about biology, about shared DNA and genetic traits, or was it about showing up every day, about being there through the good times and the bad, about loving someone unconditionally? I'd always thought Emma had my eyes, but now I realized she didn't. I'd convinced myself we had similar mannerisms, but maybe I'd just wanted to see the connection. Still, when I thought about my life without her, when I imagined not being her dad anymore, it felt wrong. It felt like losing a limb. Biology or not, she was my daughter. She was mine in every way that actually mattered. But Sarah was a different story. The woman I'd married, the woman I'd built a life with, she'd betrayed me in the worst possible way. She'd stolen 15 years from me, stolen the chance to make an informed decision about my life. She'd let me believe I was Emma's father when she knew, she'd always known that I wasn't. How many times had Derek crossed her mind over the years? Did she think about him when she looked at Emma? Did she see him in our daughter's face every single day? The questions tormented me, spinning through my mind at all hours. I needed answers. I needed to confront her, but I also needed a plan. I decided to set up a meeting with Derek first. I found him on social media easily enough, the same Derek from the messages. He lived about an hour away, was unmarried, and from what I could tell from his profile, had no idea he had a daughter. I sent him a message, brief and to the point. We need to talk about Emma. I know everything. He responded within an hour, agreeing to meet me at a coffee shop halfway between our towns. I didn't tell Sarah where I was going that Saturday. I said I was meeting Mark for golf, another lie to add to the pile that our marriage had become. Derek was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner table looking nervous. He was younger than me by a few years, tall and athletic, with the same color eyes as Emma. Seeing that resemblance in person hit me harder than I expected. We sat in uncomfortable silence for a moment before he spoke. "Look, I didn't know," he said immediately. "About Emma. Sarah never told me she was pregnant. We had a brief thing, just a few weeks, and then she ended it and said she was going back to you. I had no idea there was a child." His words had the ring of truth to them, and somehow that made it worse. Sarah hadn't just lied to me, she'd kept Emma a secret from her biological father, too. Derek and I talked for over 2 hours. By the end, a strange understanding had formed between us. We were both victims of Sarah's deception. He asked if he could meet Emma, if he could be part of her life. I told him I needed time to figure things out, that Emma didn't know any of this yet, and I wanted to protect her from the fallout as much as possible. He nodded, understanding, and gave me his number. "Whatever you decide," he said as we parted ways, "I want you to know that I think Emma is lucky to have had you as her father. Sarah made mistakes, huge ones, but she chose well when it came to who would raise her daughter." It was a strange compliment, but it meant something to me in that moment. That night, I decided it was time to confront Sarah. I waited until Emma and our younger son were asleep. Then I sat down across from my wife at the kitchen table and placed the DNA test results in front of her. I'll never forget the look on her face, the color draining away, her hands starting to shake, the way her mouth opened but no sound came out. "Explain," I said simply. That's all I could manage without my voice breaking. For a long moment, she just stared at the paper. Then the tears came, and with them the whole story. She told me everything. The affair with Derek, the pregnancy, the fear when she realized she didn't know who the father was. She'd convinced herself I was Emma's father because she wanted it to be true. She'd pushed the doubt deep down and tried to forget about it. Over the years, she'd managed to convince herself that it didn't matter, that I was Emma's real father in every way that counted. But Derek had recently reached out to her, having heard through mutual friends that she had a daughter about the right age. He'd done the math and started asking questions. That's when the guilt had come flooding back, when she'd realized she couldn't hide from the truth anymore. I asked her the question that had been burning in my mind. "Were you ever going to tell me?" She looked down at her hands, tears streaming down her face, and shook her head. "I don't know," she whispered. "I was so scared of losing you, of losing our family. Every year that passed made it harder to tell the truth. How do you tell someone something like that after 5 years, after 10? I know I should have told you from the beginning, but I was a coward. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Her apologies felt hollow. Sorry doesn't give back 15 years. Sorry doesn't erase the betrayal. Sorry doesn't fix the fact that my entire adult life had been built on a foundation of lies. I moved out the next week. I stayed with Mark and his wife while I figured out what to do next. Filing for divorce was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I knew I couldn't stay married to someone who had deceived me so completely. The worst part was telling Emma. We sat her down together, Sarah and I, and explained that we were getting divorced. She cried, of course, asking why, begging us to work it out, but we didn't tell her the real reason. Not then. She was only 15, and I wanted to protect her from the knowledge that would inevitably make her question her entire identity. The divorce proceedings were messy. Sarah didn't fight me on most things, probably out of guilt. We agreed to split everything 50-50, to share custody of both kids. Yes, both kids. Our son was definitely mine. We'd tested him too, just to be sure. And Emma, well, biology or not, I wasn't going to abandon her. I'd made the decision that Derek had been right about. I was her father in all the ways that mattered. I'd raised her, loved her, been there for every important moment of her life. Some DNA test wasn't going to change that. But I also thought Derek deserved the chance to know his daughter if Emma wanted that. When Emma turned 16, I decided it was time to tell her the truth. She deserved to know, deserved the chance to make her own decisions about her relationships and her identity. I took her out to dinner, just the two of us, to her favorite restaurant. After we'd ordered, I took a deep breath and told her everything. About the affair, about the DNA test, about Derek. I watched my daughter process this information, saw the confusion and hurt and anger cross her face. "So you're not my real dad?" she asked, her voice small and broken. "I am your real dad," I said firmly. "I've been your dad every single day of your life. Biology doesn't change that. I love you just as much today as I did yesterday, and that will never change." Emma took the news hard. She was angry at Sarah for lying, confused about her identity, and worried about our relationship. It took months of family therapy, both with me and with Sarah, for her to start coming to terms with it all. Eventually, she decided she wanted to meet Derek. I arranged it, staying with her for that first meeting for support. It was awkward and emotional, but Derek was respectful and patient. He didn't try to force a relationship or replace me. He understood his role. He was a biological parent who wanted to be part of her life if she'd let him, but I was her dad. Over time, Emma built a relationship with Derek. It's different from what she has with me, but it's meaningful to her, and I'm glad she has that connection. As for Sarah and me, we're civil for the kids' sake. We co-parent effectively, attend school events together, coordinate schedules and holidays. But the trust is gone, and it's never coming back. She's apologized countless times over the years, and I believe she's genuinely remorseful. But remorse doesn't fix what's broken. She made a choice 15 years ago to lie to me, and then she made that choice again every single day for 15 years. That's not a mistake, that's a pattern of deception. I've forgiven her in the sense that I don't carry anger anymore, but I'll never forget, and I'll never be able to look at her the same way again. Emma is 19 now, in college, thriving. She has a relationship with both Derek and me, and I think she's healthier for knowing the truth, even though it was painful to learn. She still calls me dad. She still comes to me with her problems and her triumphs. She still tells people I'm her father without hesitation. Because I am. Not because of genetics, but because of choice. My choice to keep loving her, to keep being her father, even when I learned the truth. That's what real parenthood is. It's not about who contributed DNA. It's about who shows up, who stays, who loves unconditionally. Looking back on everything now, 4 years after that terrible discovery, I can see things more clearly. I lost my marriage, yes, and I lost the naive trust I once had. But I didn't lose what mattered most. I didn't lose my daughter. I could have walked away. Legally, morally, many people would have understood if I'd decided I couldn't be a father to a child who wasn't biologically mine, especially given the circumstances. But that was never really an option for me. Emma wasn't responsible for Sarah's lies. Emma was an innocent kid who deserved a father who loved her, and I was that father. I'd been that father for 15 years, and I wasn't going to stop. Sometimes people ask me if I regret anything, if I would have done things differently. Honestly, I wish Sarah had told me the truth from the beginning. I wish I'd had the choice to decide with full knowledge whether to raise Emma as my daughter. But I also know, deep in my heart, that I would have made the same choice anyway. How could I not? I was already invested in that pregnancy, already imagining our future together. And once Emma was born, once I held her in my arms and looked into her eyes, she was mine. Biology be damned. So maybe the outcome would have been the same, but at least it would have been built on honesty instead of lies. The hardest part of all of this hasn't been accepting that Emma isn't biologically mine. It's been reconciling the woman I thought I married with the woman who could lie to me for 15 years. Sarah and I were together for almost 20 years total. We had dreams and plans and secrets and inside jokes. We built a whole life together, and somehow she was able to look me in the eye every single day while keeping this massive secret. That's what keeps me up at night sometimes. Not the DNA results, but the deception. How well do we ever really know another person? How much can we trust what we think we know? These days, I'm doing okay. I've been dating someone new for the past year, someone who knows the whole story and accepts it. It's taken time to learn to trust again, to believe that not everyone is hiding something. Emma likes her, which helps. My son is doing great, and he and Emma are still close despite everything. We've adapted to our new normal, split holidays, 2 different homes, a more complicated family tree, but we're making it work. Life goes on, even after your world falls apart. You pick up the pieces, you rebuild, and eventually you find yourself standing on solid ground again. If there's anything I've learned from this experience, it's that family is complicated. It's about more than blood. It's about commitment and love and choosing each other every day, even when it's hard. Emma is my daughter not because we share DNA, but because I chose her and she chose me, and we continue to choose each other. That's real. That's permanent. That's what matters. The rest, the lies, the betrayal, the shattered illusions, that's all just noise. Painful, destructive noise, but noise nonetheless. What's left when all that fades away is the love between a father and his daughter, and nothing can take that away from us.